All right. All yours.
Thank
Ready
you.
to touch.
Yeah, thank you, Sonalji.
You're welcome.
Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Radhe Radhe Nitinji, over to you.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Pallavi and thank you, Madan ji, Sunil Bhai, for a wonderful session. Love the TED talk and the breathing nugget around that. Very, very powerful. Right? And even it is said that it is not the number of years, it is the number of breaths that are granted to us, right? So that is why breathe slowly, don't hurry up. Not good, right? If we exhaust all the breaths, then we only see it. Anyways, we'll continue today on the discussion of karam, vikaram, akaram, right? The different flavors of karam. And today we are going to talk about, go a little deeper into a little bit about karam part of it, because it is auspicious karam. We are not talking, karam means auspicious karam. You can prefix with auspicious or good karma. We'll look at that in perspective. We'll take some examples from Ramayana. Okay, none other than Ramayana, where Ram had a Maryada Purushottam avatar, and we look at it, the good karma, people around him, how did they treat the good karma around, what perspective they had around it. And then we will delve into the Vikaram part of it to see how our life is a continuum of doing karam, vikaram, and possibly karam yoga as well, now that we are introduced to it as well. So we'll discuss the other aspect of it as well. And I had given a home assignment yesterday to talk about Phalgu, Vairagya. And I want to announce that Sri Ramya ji gets the right of first refusal today because she couldn't get a chance yesterday. So we'll get to that. Let's get started with our opening prayers first. So let me share my screen and we will be getting underway. All right. You may see a bit of a disturbance for a minute. All right, no worries. Somebody was crashing my party, is gone now. All right. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanurmardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening again, everyone. So let's get down to the shloka that we've been discussing. I'm going to recite it and then you get an opportunity to follow along. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gati. All right. Have any volunteers?
Yes, Payalji, Radhe Radhe, you're the first one today. Please go ahead.
Anji.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam bodhavyam cha vikarmanah akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Shyamji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Shyamji.
Radhe Radhe. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam bodhavyam cha vikarmanah akarmanascha bodhavyam gehena karmano gatihi. Radhe Radhe.
Wonderful. Very nice, Shyamji. Radhe Radhe.
Rupaji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Rupaji.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi.
Thank you, Rupaji. Very nice. I have a feeling that Lakshmi ji is also going to turn on her camera today.
Thank
See. All right.
Umesh ji, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe. Yeah.
Sumesh.
कर्मणो ह्यपि बोद्धव्यं च विकर्मणः अकर्मणश्च बोद्धव्यं गहना कर्मणो गतिः
Very
राधे
nice,
राधे
Sumesh. Radhe Radhe. Wonderful.
Rahul ji, Radhe Radhe, please
Hare
go ahead.
Krishna. Hare Krishna. Rahul
Radhe
ji.
Radhe, Jai Shri Ram. Because
Jai
we
Shri Radhe.
कर्मणो ह्यपि बोद्धव्यं च विकर्मणः अकर्मणश्च बोद्धव्यं गहना कर्मणो गतिः. Radhe Radhe.
Wonderful. Very nice, Rahul. Okay, we have few more hands. I think we can pick the remaining ones real quick.
Yes. Yes, sir. Ashutosh ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
कर्मणो यपि बोद्धव्यं च विकर्मणः अकर्मणश्च बोद्धव्यं गहना कर्मणो गतिः.
Very nice, Ashutoshi. Radhe Radhe.
Meenakshi ji, Radhe Radhe, please
Radhe
go ahead.
Meenakshi ji.
Radhe Radhe. कर्मणो ह्यपि बोद्धव्यं च विकर्मणः अकर्मणश्च बोद्धव्यं गहना कर्मणो गतिः. राधे राधे.
Thank you. Very nice, Meenakshi ji. Radhe Radhe.
Asha ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Asha ji.
Radhe Radhe. कर्मणो ह्यपि बोद्धव्यं च विकर्मणः अकर्मणश्च बोद्धव्यं गहना कर्मणो गतिः.
Very nice, Asha ji. You always remind me of my Hindi teacher.
Oh my God. Thank you.
Yeah, Hindi is super Hindi. So the next word that I want you to research is a cricket tournament. Okay, so we can talk about it later. So that's the next word.
Yes, I have to learn from you.
No, I'm just kidding. Button was a good one. The cricket tournament, if anybody knows, we can talk about that. Anyways, let's move on. We have a couple of more hands and then we'll get started.
We have two more hands. Raghi ji,
Yes.
Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Please go ahead.
Hello, Radhe Radhe.
Raghi ji.
कर्मणो ह्यपि बोद्धव्यं च विकर्मणः अकर्मणश्च बोद्धव्यं गहना कर्मणो गतिः.
Very nice, Raghi ji. We'll take two more hands and then we will get into Ramayana today. Okay, we're going to look at some Ramayana examples. I'm very excited to.
Yes, Riya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yes, Riya ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
कर्मणो यपि बोद्धव्यं च विकर्मणः अकर्मणश्च बोद्धव्यं गहना कर्मणो गतिः.
Very nice, Riya ji. Radhe Radhe, thank you. Last but not the least, Reena ji.
Yes, Reena ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
राधे राधे माता जी. कर्मणो यपि बोद्धव्यं च विकर्मणः अकर्मणश्च बोद्धव्यं गहना कर्मणो गतिः.
Thank you very much. All right, so let's get started. So we are going into the shloka, and the short translation for this is Lord Krishna is talking about the nature of three different flavors of karma. And we spoke about then the need to know about the difference between these karmas is important, because these are the karmas which actually dictate where we go in our next life. Or for that matter, if we continue to rotate in 8.4 million, or we can break that matrix. So it's very important to understand the differences between each one of these karmas. So what Lord Krishna is saying is you must understand the nature of all three: the recommended action, wrong action, and inaction. And truth about these is profound and difficult to understand. Lord Krishna himself is saying it's difficult to understand. And let's go a little deeper to understand it through some examples. So this is the line graph we had treated, right? We had a bit of a discussion around which karma would you choose, and we had two people going for auspicious karma, good karma, or karma, we call it, and nobody for the forbidden ones, which is good news. And some said we'll go with the neutral actions as well. And then now let's look at it. The good actions or the karma or the auspicious ones is the one we spoke about yesterday, that they do not have the ability to take us across Maya. What is Maya? Maya is actually something which is not, seems to be, but which is not there. Now let's look at through an example of Ramayana, the good karma, and we'll take some references from that. The good moral code of conduct as we see. We'll pick up some examples of brother, then mother, brother, wife. There are certain code of conducts that are there, that are basically recommended actions, or what our scriptures tell us, and see how those were basically followed or not followed, and what is the reason behind it. So it will give us some food for thought around it. Okay, so let's start with Bharat, Ram's brother. Now Lord Rama, he was in a Maryada Purushottam avatar, and we have picked up the people who are around him. Okay, and he was from a Maryada standpoint, because in order to keep his father's word, Kaikai, he obeyed his mother's instruction, right, to go into exile for 14 years, giving up his royal duties and retiring into the forest. And now Bharat, what does he do? When he comes back and gets to know about this story, he not only scolds his mother, but uses foul language. Okay, if you have seen Ramayana, or if you go to look at Ramayana, or if somebody has had a fortune of reading Valmiki Ramayana, the word that he uses for his mother, Kaikai, not even an enemy would use that. He calls him Matri Ghatakam. Basically, he tells her that I would have murdered this wicked sinner Kaikai if only someone could guarantee that my beloved Rama would not renounce me for this act. Okay, that is what Bharat is saying to his mother. And he even went on to the extent of saying to his mother, he used the word Pati Ghatini. Basically, what it means is, Kaikai, he said, you are the murderess, of your own husband. I don't even want to speak to you. Okay, that is how he treats his mother. Okay, just imagine a son telling that to his mother. Right? If you do it in Kali Yuga, you would imagine what kind of a son it is, right? Simply flouting it. Now, what does Ram has to say about Bharat? Now, let's look at how Ram looks at Bharat. Right? When Lakshman, he had some temper issues, right? But he's not an ordinary soul, okay? So they can afford, that is also part of the Leela only. He tells to Lakshman that Lakhan tumhar sapata pitu ana, suchi subandhu nahim Bharat samana. So basically, this is what Ram thinks about Bharat. Okay? He says there is no brother equal to Bharat in this world. And if you look at it from the code of conduct standpoint, even Lakshman for that matter, Ram told him that, I'm your elder brother. You go obey my instructions and you remain here. Now, the situation also demands that Bharat and Shatrughan, they have gone to their maternal uncle house. So you need to stay back. My father is old and he's agreed about my departure. So you need to take care of him. So elder brother is telling his younger brother, Lakshman, you stay back here. And otherwise, even the kingdom, the calamity would befall upon the kingdom, and the subjects, they will have no direction in the absence. So what does Lakshman say? He says, Jasu Raja Priya Praja Dukhari, So Nripa Avasi Naraka Adhikari. He says, give me a break, Ram. The king suffer and all that stuff is fine. But again, according to dharma or right conduct, you accompanying me to the forest is not proper in any way. That is what Ram is telling him. Now, Lakshman's reply is classic. He says, these rules of conduct of scriptures are not for an ordinary person like me. He tells that to Ram. These rules of high conduct are for people who desire worldly or celestial pleasures. He's simply telling the karma, the auspicious or good karma that we are talking about. Yesterday we said it has a limitation, and he's simply corroborating that. He's saying this is for people who desire worldly or celestial pleasures. And he says these rules are not applicable for me anywhere. And then further on, he goes on to say, Guru Pitu Matu na Janau Kahu Kahahun Swabhava Natha Patiyau. I don't know any father, I don't know any mother, teacher, anybody apart from you. So I will not obey anybody else. I will come with you. That's how he said. Do whatever you want. I will come with you. Now let's look at Shatrughan. He goes a step further than Bharat. What does he do? Shatrughan, he's a brother now. These are all Ram's, right? Maryada Purushottam avatars, brothers we are talking about, not anybody. What he does, he kicks the feeble, hunchbacked women called Manthara when he comes to know that she was the one who influenced their mother. And she fell down and her mouth actually started to bleed. And he did not leave her at that. He actually held her by her hair, dragged her around. Now, is it a proper code of conduct for a prince? That to Ram's brother? Of course not. Now, let's go further. Let's talk about Sita, Mother Sita. Okay. She's the mother of the universe, we know that. And the scriptural code of conduct, she's an embodiment of that. So now Ram advised her, don't accompany me. You stay back and look after my parents. Spend a few days at parents' home and look after them as well. And this is the highest duty for a married woman. Ram is telling, no, none other than Ram is telling that to Mother Sita. And then he says, moreover, I am your husband. It is my desire that you stay here. So very clearly he's telling her that. Now, a faithful wife, as per the moral code of conduct, would have listened to her husband. That's her duty. Dharma, as we say it, proper code of conduct. So what does Mother Sita tell him? She says, she gave a full lecture, by the way, but the gist of the lecture is, just as an object and its shadow are inseparable, I cannot stay away from you. And he warned her that if you don't do that, something bad will happen. But she said, I'm just going to accompany you. If you don't take me along, then you will not find me alive. Now she's doing that leela, that you'll not find me alive. Actually, Yamaraj is also scared to come in front of her. But that is what she said. And he said, no matter what, I'm just going to go with you. Now, if you look at these acts, they are flouting the more moral codes of conduct blatantly. And within the immediate family circle of Lord Ram, not even distant relatives. And history is witness to the fact that, we are told that we have to listen to our parents and obey them and revere them. Prahlad, did he obey his father? He did not. Then we look at gopis. Did they obey their husbands? They did not. Vibhishan, did he obey his elder brother Ravan? He did not. King Bali, did he listen to the instructions of his guru Shukracharya? He did not. So we have enough historical precedents in our scriptures to tell that there is something bigger. We are missing a point here. This code of conduct and stuff is fine. It is good, but not good enough. So when you start attaching to a higher principle, you can just cross them out. But the prerequisite is you are attaching to something higher. In this case, they were attaching to God. Everything else takes a backseat. But we cannot say, no, we are not attached to God. That is what we are going to get to the concept now. The Phalgu Vairagya discussion is going to lead us to that. If you are not there, you cannot simply get over this. So the bare minimum hygiene criteria of justifying our existence on this earth as a human being is to follow the moral code of conduct as our scriptures say, for as long as we consider ourselves as a body. Once we are beyond that point, does not matter. Now you are with the divine. All these rules take a backseat because you are doing the highest possible dharma for a soul. So that was the concept. Now let's move further on this concept and look at the assignment that I had given. What is Phalgu Vairagya? So Shri Ramya ji, please go ahead. We can have a bit of a discussion. Shri Ramya ji wanted to talk about it. Sandhya has a question, and then we will cover some more content around this next part of the karma that we talk about. Yes, Shri Ramyaji, please go ahead. And Sandhya, you had a question. Like, we'll take that real quick.
Yes.
Radhe all.
Yes,
So
please.
I had read this from one of Swamiji's blogs that Phalgu is a river near Orissa, and apparently on the surface there is a land that has covered over it, but that's a very shallow land, and beneath there is this river flowing called Phalgu. So it is like you think it's land, but it's not land; it's river. So it is the Vairagya is called like that. Vairagya is detachment, but it is like false detachment. You think that you're detached from the world, but then your mind always keeps contemplating on the world. So that is Phalgu Vairagya.
Very true. Beautiful. Very true. And we will look at it from a couple of other angles as well. The definition of Phalgu Vairagya that is given, and I'm sure a lot of us will be able to relate to it, and it will open some more windows of thought around it as well. Okay, some of the stereotypes that we have built in our mind around some of the stuff related to spirituality or the detachment aspect of it. Yes, let's hear. I can see a few hands and maybe a few questions as well.
Rahul ji has also mentioned in chat, Bahari Vairagya and not the inner one.
Very true.
Sandhya ji. Yeah.
Yes,
Sandhya ji, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Yes, Radhe Radhe Sandhya.
So it's a question regarding the Ramayana part that you were referring to. So I mean, in case of Prahlad, Prahlad was attached to God and not listening to his father. But in case of Ramayana, I found it a bit confusing that you are not listening to God himself while being attached to God. Isn't that a confusing situation? Like, how can you not be obedient to God?
So God, yeah, so that's a good principle. Even gopis, he suggested, right? Go do this, go do that. He said, okay, who are you talking to basically? Who are you kidding with, right? You only have told in scriptures that there is no higher dharma than being attached to you, right? Loving you, serving you. So which code of conduct are you talking about? So God does his leelas, even in his devotees he tell, but his devotees are pakka in tattva gyan. They say, who are you kidding us? The scripture's aim is you, to serve you, to love you. So who are his mother, father that you're talking about to stay back in this, that, right? So those are the leelas he does, but then devotees, they are pakka in what they want to do. So they don't leave that part. Same thing Sita did, Ram, Lakshman did. He said, my seva is my param dharam, seva of yours. Now I cannot stay here and do seva of my material mother, father while you are lurching around in the forest all alone. Same thing Sita said as well. So they look at their dharma, the topmost dharma is to serve God, right? And they are aligning to that dharma. So when God also tests them, devotee says, no, I understand. Okay, don't test me out. Gopi said the same to Lord Krishna when they said, okay, don't think about me. Tell them, this is, all the knowledge that Uddhav was sent with. They said, give it to somebody else and not to us, basically. And even when he came in Narayana avatar in front of them, see the God, basically, when you approach him with love, right? He's forced to hide his Aishwarya Shakti. He cannot come in his Aishwarya form and give you Gyan and all the big things. He becomes enslaved with that. So it is said that in between, he came in front of gopis in his four-armed form. And when Radhaji came, his two arms vanished, right? He said, what kind of, joke you are playing around with this kind of a deal. So point here being that God definitely tests his devotees from time to time. But if you look at it from his Lakshman standpoint, Sita standpoint, they were actually subscribing to the higher dharma, not to the lower dharma, even the God was telling him. So they were very clear around that. And of course, if Ram wanted, he would have forced them. He knew that, where they're coming from, and he did not. He let them come along with him after the fact. So, yes. Phalgu Vairagya, Shri Ramyaji, very nice. You explained that. We will get deeper into that. So we can quickly take what Samji and Shashiji have to say.
Yes, Samji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. So in the previous session, I learned that the percentage of your mind, the extent to which your mind gets attached to God, that's the extent you are detached from the world. So when you are 100% attached to God, your mind is attached to God, that means you are 100% detached from the world. If you are 100% attached to God, your mind is 100% attached to God, then you're 100% detached from the world.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you jumped the gun a little bit. I'll come to that slide. It will clarify that question. We'll get to that. So yeah, we'll get to you, Samji. Maybe if there's a question, you can come back, because I have a slide on that, what you just spoke about, and we're going to have a bit of a discussion on that concept as well, what you said, and then we can come back if you have a question around it. Yes, Shashiji?
Yes, Sashiji, please go ahead.
Yes, Radhe Radhe
Radhe
Nitin
Radhe.
ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Palvi ji. Nitin ji, I remember the story one time Swamiji was saying that when he was working for ESCON, there were so many young kids used to come every month to become Babaji, because they used to face the difficulties in their life and they wanted to escape from those difficulties. They used to want to become Babaji, but after staying there a month or few months, and then they start facing the problems in that path, so they used to leave. So this is what used to happen a lot, Swamiji said. So that is more like Phalgu Vairagya. People used to think, okay, if I become Babaji, I will be okay and be, fine, and I will be all set. But actually, there are problems in every place. It has to be totally detachment, has to come from within. Then, that is true Vairagya.
Beautiful point. Very true. Yes, he said that he used to see 15, 20 people will come and 10, 15 would leave, like high attrition rate. They call it attrition rate in corporates, right? People come and go. So, and the reason for that is because their Tattva Gyan is not solid around what true detachment is. Now we will break it down, really get into the psychology of how our, or the mechanics of how our mind works. Okay, we'll look at it logically so that we understand why, what is true detachment and how would it actually take effect. Okay, not just by thinking, all right, there is so much of misery, sab moh maya hai, right? World people say that, sab moh maya hai, I will leave all this moh maya. You will leave this moh maya, but where will you go? That is the question. Saying that is it has become a very popular dialogue, right? Sab moh maya, let's leave it. You can't leave it. Where will you go? So let's look at this concept. I think Samji brought in that, introduced that concept. So let's continue. Yes, Surendraji, you had something to add. I'm going to move on to the next slide then after this.
Just one simple. Falgu Vairagya. फल का मतलब है जो रिजल्ट, प्राप्ति, उसका ही वैराग होना चाहिए.
हाँ, एकदम सटीक जवाब था इसका. और हम चलते हैं आगे. बहुत सही. Very nice, Surendra ji. So let's look at this concept. We speak about 4 categories of activities we spoke about, right? So these are the 4 activities. Now, action is what we spoke about. Action is auspicious actions recommended by the scriptures for regulating the senses and purifying the mind. That is bare minimum you have to do. The next category is vikaram, is what we are going to briefly discuss today. Vikaram is something which is inauspicious actions prohibited by scriptures. They are detrimental and result in degradation of our soul. And karam yoga, we already know that it is done without attachment to the fruits, merely for the pleasure of God. They don't have karmic reaction, nor do they entangle the soul. Now let's see what leads to vikaram. Vikaram we discussed in detail. We saw its limitation also, although it is needed for us, but it is a necessary but not a sufficient condition, right? In maths they say that it's necessary but not sufficient. It is necessary because if you don't even do that, you are falling into vikaram category. But is it sufficient? No, it is not sufficient, because it will not lead you to liberation. At best, it will lead you to swarg or celestial abodes. So if you don't do that, we fall into the second category of vikaram. Now let's look at it. How does it work? So Samji, you will love it. What you brought in is what we are going to discuss that now. So what are the 2 possibilities for our mind? One is world, other one is God. Is there a third possibility? Can anybody say, Mera man, my mind does not remain in world, but at the same time, my mind does not even remain in God? Can you say that? Of course not. There's no third place. Can your mind be in pending state? No. If it is not in God, then it is in world. If it is not in world, that means your world is giving you some kind of a dissatisfaction. You want world, but in a package that is convenient to you, but it is still in world. Okay, let's get that cleared in our head. If somebody says man nahi lagta, man is probably needing something else in world. That's all it means. It's not that you have risen above world. You are beyond Mohamaya. No, it's not that. So statistically, or let's look at graphically. So this is the percentage of your mind in world. Okay, 4 square I put. So let's say 25%, 25%, 25%, 25% makes it 100%. Right? Nothing in God. That is how you start. Now one piece gone, detachment in world happened. What happened? Attachment in God has come up. So 25% detachment in world, 25% detachment in God automatically. How does it happen? Sequentially, linearly, one after another? No, simultaneously. The amount of mind you're attached in God, the same amount of detachment you will experience in the world, right? The next thing, 50%, you see 50%, 75%, 75%, 100%, 100%, and your job is done. That's it. Okay. All right. So if your mind is completely attached to God, the detachment is a natural consequence of it. You don't have to work for it. Sanji, you had a question on it, or did I already answer your question? Okay.
I don't see her hand raised. Okay, thumbs up. Okay.
Okay, okay, good. So that means I've already answered that question. So the point here being, if our mind is not cooperating, it is because it is craving for something in this world that you are not getting. The more attachment to God happens, detachment is a natural concept. You don't have to work for that. It will automatically happen. And 100% attachment to God, you are already detached. Nothing is needed at that point. That is a Sharanagati. You're a done deal. You have become the Puri. And everything is, you have hit the jackpot basically. So this is how it works. Now let's say you are work in progress, somewhere in between, right? And that is where the concept of Phalgu Vairagya comes. Now let's talk about this concept of Phalgu Vairagya today. You see this guy? What is the first thing that comes in your mind? Not a ghost movie. Okay, there is a Hollywood movie with the same kind of a mask. It's not for that. Basically, what it means is you have something on the outside, external superficial change, and something else on the inside, internally, still attached to the world. And if you are at that stage, it is called Phalgu Vairagya, where you are not yet there, and simply because you're finding the world miserable, the stock market is crashing, the wife doesn't listen to me, the child is troublesome, my boss is just not cooperating, nothing seems to be working in this world, so let me get detached and run to the forests. Okay, I'll go to become Baba. Like a lot of people use it as a tool also to threaten. I'll become Baba. Tell them, go ahead and become. Okay. So if you go and become Baba like this, then your end of the day, the destination that is going to happen is Vikaram, the concept of Vikaram. And it will lead to smoking ganja finally. Right? You see so many people smoking pot or marijuana. That is what happens. It is called Phalgu Vairagya. That is not the detachment, the way to look at detachment, and exactly what Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna as well. When he spoke about, I'm going to be a sannyasi, go to the forest. Krishna said, go and fight the war. Even if you go to the forest, you will find 5 more people, form a small gang, and start practicing your archery and fighting kingdoms soon after. Just do your duty at this point. It is a Phalgu Vairagya. So true detachment is when you think there is neither misery nor happiness in this world. If you are getting turned away from the world, thinking it is very miserable, then that is not the true detachment. Okay, so that is a good yardstick for checking yourself. If you're finding things miserable in this world, you need to work harder. And there is a saying that anything that bothers you is the lesson for you. So we need to rise above this understanding that there is misery in this world. No, It is perfectly orchestrated the way it needs to be. I love this definition from Rupa Goswami, who's a disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, it is a very deep and a profound definition. Just think about it. He said that if one renounces anything, okay, which could be applied in the service of the Lord and does not use it for that purpose, that is called Phalgu Vairagya. Some people say, right, Maya, money, car, train, why? Now, you can actually utilize it for the service of God. It's a very deep definition if you think about it. Then we start forming stereotypes in our mind. You know, you use material things, so this person has to be materialistic. No, actually, everything is God's energy. But as long as we are using it for the service of God, then that means it is put to the use that it was intended to be. Like mic is a mic. You can sing bhajans in it, or you can have your rock band and sing away to glory, right? So everything is God's energy. And if you think of it, that how you can utilize it for the service of God, then that is the right way to look at it. And if you don't do that, you run away from it, have an aversion to it, then it is called Phalgu Vairagya. It is a very deep definition. I just love that definition. Think about it. All right. Anything anybody wanted to add before I move further on this definition, or anything so far that we have discussed before I go into the discussion topic, which is going to be fairly interesting as well? Any questions on Phalgu Vairagya? I saw a heart, so thank you, Prabhuji.
I don't see any hand raised so far, Nitinji.
Was it all right?
Oh, Deepti ji's hand raised.
Yes,
Asha ji's hand. Okay. Deepti ji, please go ahead. Radhe
Yeah.
Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Just wanted to know that if Falgu Vairagya happens, then what next be done? Like to come back again to the world?
See, Phalgu Vairagya can happen to us, right? When we face reversals in this world, then God is the first thing will come to your mind, especially if you are on this track, right? Even Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Chatur Vidha Bhajante Mam, Jigyasu Artho Arti and Jigyasu Artho Arti and Jnani. So one of them is people who have had material reversals. Now, at that time, obviously, you need to bring in the right knowledge. You have to bring in the right knowledge and conquer it with knowledge. Mind will play its tricks, but that is where knowledge comes in handy. You tell yourself, all right, this too shall pass. I don't want to, okay, fine, I'm taking refuge in God, which is perfectly okay. But then if I simply think, you know, the world is miserable and do that, that is not how I need to be looking at world. World is happening. This will also pass away. What happens tomorrow? Things will get normal. Will you forget God? No, right? So that is where we bring in knowledge and bring in that perspective that I become situation agnostic. When somebody is happy, no matter what is happening in their life, right? Because they think I have God with me. That is the ideal state to be in. And gradually we have to work towards that. Our mood, our emotion should not be a function of our situation around us. That, okay, today my mood is good. Okay, like stock market, today is bad. Today this person said this thing, so I'm unhappy. Today this person said this thing, so I'm happy. No, it should not be the function of that, right? If somebody tells us, you are an idiot, right? Something happens within us, something twitches within us. Should not be the case. Are we all-knowing? Can we say, claim to be all-knowing? No. If you're not all-knowing, then we are all idiots at different levels. That's all it is. So that inner thing that we need to really work on and gradually get better at that with knowledge, and that is where knowledge comes in handy. So Phalgu Vairagya is a very common symptom. It happens, right, when things don't go well. You said, okay, God only is the truth. Everything else is not. But then other than that, if you truly think about it, with the knowledge, we need to bring in this knowledge, and that is where the contemplation comes into picture, right? There's an interesting story about Ram Naam Satya Hai, right? People say, shh, don't say that. You know, you say it when people die. So there was a guy who actually lost his son, and they were taking him, the procession was going on, and they started saying Ram Naam Satya Hai, Ram Naam Satya Hai. What does it mean basically? The only truth is Ram's name. That's all it means. Right? And then he had an ND experience. He woke up and people were saying Ram Nam. He said, stop, don't say that. So that is how our understanding is about, right? A lot of people, they don't celebrate Janmashtami or Ram Navami. Why? Because somebody died, when this festival came. Now they stopped celebrating it. Now, if you statistically look at it, somebody would die on that day always. Now, when the new Bahu or somebody marries, even on that day, a lot of people die. Do we stop that? No. So it's all convenience based and those kind of things because of ignorance that happens. And we create this artificial Vairagya around things just because of our ignorance. So we need to get the right knowledge in place and beat this with proper understanding. That's all it is.
Yeah,
You see,
thank you, Nitinji.
Ram Nam Satya hai, how people will freak out, right? You said, what are you saying, man? Somebody's going to... all it says is God's name is the only truth.
Yes.
But you have associated it with something which we think is inauspicious, which is not the case. But don't start saying it at home, okay? They'll say, God knows what kind of sessions we are doing, so don't experiment it. We have to be smart in the world, right? So yeah, let's hear.
So it's interesting question Ashutosh ji has asked. Isn't it many, the start with the, many start with the Phalgu Vairagya only. Then can with proper knowledge progress on right path. I think he's trying to say that for most of the people who are in the spiritual path, actually they start with Phalgu Vairagya only, isn't it? And he has mentioned that for me, I started seriously on this path after some problem in material world only.
Very true. Very, very good point, Ashutoshi. That is why Lord Krishna is also saying, Jigyasu, Artho, Arti, and Jnani. So he's saying one who's curious, his curiosity is that I want to know the truth. Second is Artho, person who says, I want to hit a lottery, I want to get married, I want this, that will also come to God. Third will be who's had some material reversals. God knows that. That is fine. But the reason we are talking about this is when you go deeper, you don't stay at that level only. It is a good entry point. Even Lord is acknowledging it. Krishna says, Yen Kain Prakaren. However you come, if your feet take you to temple, but then he gives you the next level as well. That, okay, don't just stop there. Yes, you get there. That is why it is said it's God's grace. When some material reversals happen, it's actually his grace, because that makes us think about realities of life and turn towards God, which is a good thing. But do we stop there? No, that's essentially what it is. But great point. Yes, it can actually lead a lot of people and get the foot in the door that is needed.
Yeah. Thank you, Nitinji.
Yeah.
Radhe Radhe, Padmaji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. My throat is a little bit down, so I was just saving it for the end. It's like the figment of imagination, right? The figment of imagination that if you physically leave that space of chaos or leave that space of Maya, you are actually detached. But the detachment or the attachment is actually not happening. The body, it's the mind. Our attachments and detachments are in our mind. So causes could be anything. Causes could be material reversals. Causes could be anything which is going to bring you that state of awareness that, okay, this is really not, there is no happiness in the material world, but that doesn't mean that you don't have any responsibility of inaction. Inaction is not an option. When you're in that state of mind, inaction is not an option. Action is an option, but action in the proper sense, with the proper state of mind, with keeping God in mind, that is exactly where, if you recognize that, what does it mean for me? Detachment means what should it mean for everybody? What does it mean to me? It's like physically you're still in that space and doing everything that you have to do, but you're doing it on a different conscious level of what you have been doing. Everything that you have been doing before is the same thing that you have to continue to do, but you're just doing it on a different conscious level. It's almost like, if you don't know, you have to ask. If you don't agree, at least discuss. And if you don't like it, just say it politely. So whatever options works for you, but inaction is not an option. Action is an option with the consciousness of keeping God in mind. That's what I wanted to say. And the other thing, somewhere I remember when I was a child, is even in God's Leelas, he will make sure that he performs his duties.
Yes, you can quickly finish it off.
Yeah. I remember, like, maybe it was in Mahabharata when I was young, when Krishna is all done with his training or whatever, he wants to give good dakshina to Guru. And Guru says, you're playing all these leelas with me. And then Krishna says, of course, I know that I'm playing leela. Of course, you know that I'm playing leela, but within that leela also, I have to perform my duties. So even God is also abided by the duties, which is action that we have to perform to certain things that we have to do. Just wanted to bring that out.
Nobody's basically arguing against not doing action. That is the basic minimum. Inaction first. Better than inaction is action. Even better than action is action in proper consciousness. So that is the hierarchy we have to follow. What Krishna is saying, understand it. Just doing your action and being getting satisfied with it is not going to take you far. That's essentially what he's saying. That is what we've been discussing. Great point, Padmaji. Let's hear from Pragyaji, and I saw Neetuji as well. So the rule is once you raise your hand, you're not allowed to put it back. So let's hear from Pragyaji, and Neetuji, you can prepare it in the meantime.
Yes, Pragyaji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin, Pallavi and everyone. This Falgoo Vairagya, it makes us introspect. It's so deep. कि actually हम लोग को कितना वैराग्य हुआ है. I feel like we are still like into Falgoo Vairagya. The analogy of Falgoo Vairagya comes from that river in Gaya, a city in Bihar, where I have visited as a child, or where you can just lift your frock a little bit above your knees and you can cross the river. You can walk and cross the river. That's shallow it is. And it was cursed by Mother Sita. I don't remember the full story. When Lord Ram asked for some proof that she had performed that ritual, and she said that, the river, the cow, and the Brahmin are proof. And none of them came up to prove. So she cursed that the river will remain shallow, but still it's very significant because of the Vishnupad temple there. And it has a lot of other significance for Pindan and so many other things. I just wanted to say that being in the world, it made me introspect, like how much time we give to the world and how much time we actually give in devotion or in contemplation of this knowledge. I will remember this Falgoo Vairagya and the analogy with the river. Thank you. Radhe Radhe, Nitin.
Very true. Again, in fact, great point. In fact, Shimaraji was saying that amount of time we have spent thinking, contemplating, and putting our energy, thoughts, emotions into this world that we have done since time eternity. Even if we had done 1% of it in God, we would have realized God not just once but multiple times. That is very powerful. So just think about that. How much time we spend thinking about the world and putting our emotions and everything related to world. That is how powerful it is. Great point. Thank you for that. Neetuji, you wanted to say something, or you have changed your mind?
I don't see her hand raised, though I see Ashaji's hand raised.
Sure, Ashaji, please go ahead.
Yeah. Ashaji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. I had also lowered my hand. But
yes, I see Neetuji's hand now.
गुरुजी का आदेश हुआ कि आप एक बार हाथ उठा के लोअर नहीं कर सकते, तो मैंने वापस कर दिया.
महाराज जी के साथ डायरेक्ट कनेक्ट है, ये जान के बहुत खुशी हुई.
ये फाल्गु वैराग्य मैं समझती हूँ कि स्मशान वैराग्य बोलते हैं, वो ही है एक प्रकार का फाल्गु वैराग्य होगा.
स्मशान वैराग्य, वेरी नाइस. विल गेट टू
स्मशान वैराग्य, क्योंकि ये गुजराती में ज्यादा, हिंदी में गुजराती में होता है, ये यूज होता है स्मशान वैराग्य. जब कोई किसी की अपने की या किसी की भी मृत्यु हो जाती है, तो जब हम देखते हैं सब कुछ के वो बिल्कुल ही दुनिया छोड़ के लोग कैसे खाली हाथ जाते हैं, जब वो फ्यूनरल देखते हैं तब हम सब इस भावना से भर जाते हैं कि ये सब मटेरियल थिंग आर ऑलवेज टेम्पररी एंड वी हैव to do that, what we have to do. संस्कार और पुण्य कर्म के जीवन पर ही हम जान, वो कुछ घंटे या वापस आते हैं, कुछ घंटे या कुछ दिन तक रहता है, फिर टेम्पररी, फिर अपने आप वो पुराने ढांचे में हम सभी ढल जाते हैं, क्योंकि ये माया का चक्र है. तो ये आई थिंक दैट फाल्गु वैराग्य इज वन ऑफ दैट स्मशान वैराग्य.
Very true. Beautiful point. In fact, Swamiji was telling in one of his lectures, जब आपका माया में बहुत आसक्ति होने लगती है, so go to a hospital or to a funeral. Okay, perspective. Okay, that is the reality. So that will bring in the vairagya that is needed, but it is temporary because it is needed to an extent. It is a necessary evil also. Otherwise, we will. But then the people who are elevated are able to keep that truth at the back of their mind and operate without getting depressed. That doesn't mean you become depressed in life, right? No.
Yes.
See, you just know the reality of life and you can operate it within perspective, and that's all it is. In fact, in it's not liking what I'm saying, but anyways, even in Ramayana, if you look at it, when this guy kills, when Bali is killed by Lord Ram and Sugriv is coronated, he was promised that he will be coronated, and Ram says, okay, you will become Kishkinda Naresh. Now Sugriv says, no, what will I do? I cannot take on this kingdom because my brother is no more, and this and that, and all those stories, sad story. And then Ram's response is classic. He says, Mitra, ye kshanik vairagya hai. Go and rule the kingdom. And he said kshanik vairagya. And it actually happened after 3-4 months. He was enjoying grapes and dance and everything. He forgot that he was supposed to send people to find Mother Sita. Right? That is how our life goes. So quickly we move on, and this vairagya and that perspective, everything is gone. Yes, Neetuji, and then Rahulji will.
Ashaji, you raised your hand. Was there something you wanted to add on?
Yes, I remember the example of Buddha. First time he saw all the Jara, Janma, Mrityu, Vyadhi, old man and death. तो वो पहली बार देखने के बाद ही उनके मन में इतना स्थिर हो गया, जैसे आपने कहा नितिन जी, कि स्थिर होना चाहिए. अगर वैराग्य अगर हुआ है और वो क्षणिक न हो, ऐसा हमारे पुण्य है, तो गुरु यार हरि की रेस से वो स्थिर हो जाए, तो भगवान बुद्ध उसका पूरा जीवन उसी एक दृश्य से बदल गया. मगर इट इज वेरी रेयर थिंग. ही वाज अ अवतार ऑफ द गॉड. दैट्स व्हाट. बट वी कैन ट्राई दैट थिंग.
Beautiful.
We should try.
Very try. If we worry about things, let's worry to an extent that Buddha did and found the solution to it. Right?
Yeah.
Worrying and just getting depressed and not doing anything is not. It is vikaram. It falls into vikaram category. Now we need to have uplifting. So if we do Phalgu Vairagya, we can get into vikaram category. We are actually incurring sin, and we are paving the way for hell. That is how bad it is. Yes.
Yes, Neetuji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead. Are you able to unmute, Neetuji?
Yes. Yes, I just did it. Thank you so much. Radhe Radhe. I just had the question. I missed some part of the session today, so I just wanted to understand the meaning of Phalgu Vairagya.
Okay, it's like the Ramayana is over and you're asking who's
Sorry.
Yeah, who is Ram, who is Sita?
Sorry, I missed the beginning part and I just put my question.
Used to come in MTV. I remember this guy used to say, I have this, and the other guy. Can you repeat the question, please? Phalgu Vairagya is when you simply detach from outside. It's like somebody wears a saffron robe. Doesn't mean he has become a saint. It is the inner thing, your inner detachment that matters. It's not an external thing where you wear on something, okay, moh maya hai, I'm not interested in the world and I will go to forest. No, it will not help. It is an internal state of mind, and when you do detach to the world, thinking there is neither happiness nor misery, that is true detachment. But when you turn away from the world, thinking there is a lot of misery, I would run away from it, it is called Phalgu Vairagya, because when you will see misery in spiritual path, you will turn away from there as well.
Okay.
And then you have nowhere to go, and finally you will smoke pot. Okay, so that is Phalgu Vairagya. But you missed the most important part of it, Neetuji, but I hope you got the gist of it.
Yeah, I know. And I got my chance late. So
No worries.
But thank you so much. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Nitinji. Rahulji, thank you for waiting. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Rahulji.
Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.
So I think, like you mentioned, there are two types of renunciations: Falgoo Vairagya and then Yukta Vairagya.
Yukta Vairagya, yeah, that is
we should be focusing on that Yukta Vairagya, where the attachment of the mind is in God, and then everything we are doing for the service of God. Yeah.
True.
And that is very stable, like the other participant was saying, that is stable and undeterred by difficulties.
Beautiful. Very true. And that is where, when we saw the mind and this thing, right? I'll share that again. If you think Phalgu Vairagya, what is going, if you go back to this slide, right, this slide, your mind is still in the world, right? It has not yet gotten into the world, God. So that means your mind is still in the world. And that is where the Phalgu Vairagya. So if your mind is in the world and you've taken sannyas, that will be Phalgu Vairagya. And what will happen is you will be neither here nor there. Instead of being able to do the karma, good karma, now you are doing vikarma, negative karma. You have run away from your responsibilities. You have turned your back towards your family, and you are truly not detached from the world. It is Phalgu Vairagya, not the Yukta Vairagya, like Rahul brought up. So you will do vikarma. That is what Lord Krishna is condemning. And that becomes vikaram, and that leads to hellish abodes. Now from heaven, you will be fast tracked to that. So never ever turn away from your responsibilities under the pretext of spirituality until you have Yukta Vairagya, and then it will just happen all by itself. That is how it goes. It's like you can't apply brakes to a bicycle. Your mind needs a direction. So instead of having it, running in the direction of world, you start gradually turning it towards the other direction. You simply turn it. And then automatically the detachment will start happening from the world as well. And the extent to which your mind is attached to world, to the similar extent the detachment will happen. You don't have to do it separately. That was the concept. All right. 3 more hands. Let's hear.
Yeah, Nitinji, can we make some quick announcements before we move?
Oh yeah,
on?
sure. Sorry, I forgot about that completely. Please go ahead. Yeah, let's make an announcement, then we'll continue.
So first announcement is about Swamiji's retreat that is going to be in Maryland. That is from May 28 to May 30, 2022. So this is East Coast Spiritual Retreat with Swami Mukundananda in May 28 through May 30. And please register online. It is jkyog.org/MD retreat. I'm going to post the link in the chat window. So this is one very important announcement I wanted to make. And the other one is about the JK Yog International Festival of Yoga. Please do register. It is from June 15th through June 21st. And this is our personal guide to holistic health and inner bliss. Here talks by world-renowned masters, over 100 hours of expert session in yoga, nutrition, health, and alternative medicine. So this is online as well as in person. I'm going to post the link in the chat window. So please do register for International Festival of Yoga. And family camp is already, it is in June 24th through
30th,
2022. So that is for, please, I'm going to put the camp, the link to register in the camp as well, if you have not registered yet.
Yes, please do that.
And yes, attendance tracker has been posted a couple of times. Please go ahead and fill in the attendance tracker.
Yeah, please fill it also a couple of times. Okay.
If you have missed, please put some comments and add questions for Nitinji.
And if you've missed it for the last 30 days, you can do it 30 times. Okay, feel free. Okay, so Ashutosh ji replied to my trivia question on what is cricket tournament called. He said Lamb Dand Gol Pind Pratyogita. He got it 80% right. It is called Lamb Dand Gol Pind Dhar Pakad Pratyogita. Okay, let's move on.
Dhar Pakad was the missing word, huh?
Yeah.
That is cool, huh? Nice.
Yeah, it's super cool. Okay, I see 3 more hands.
I see some questions in the chat also.
All right, we can take.
If I can quickly take one question from Lakshmi ji is, do all who are in Phalgu Vairagya will land in Vikarm?
Not necessarily. If you take it to the next extreme, where you completely run away from your worldly duties, then yes. But if you are doing that, there is no harm. Phalgu Vairagya we will have from time to time, but we still keep on operating in this world. Right? It's like you don't turn your back away from your worldly duties. Then you are doing vikaram. So God says, continue to do your action, continue to perform your duties in accordance with the injunctions or the station that you the varnashram, dharam, brahmacharya, and then household, there are dharmas. You continue doing that. Don't turn your back away from it until you are there. Then worldly duties can take a back seat. Anyway, sannyas aspect is there, right? We don't take sannyas even after 60. We continue operating in this world only. Then it is like you're taking it a little too far. But then Phalgu Vairagya is fine. And then with knowledge, we have to over time get better at it. That we are not going to run away from our duties. That's fine. Material reversal is there, but that does not give me an excuse to turn away from my duties. That's essentially what God is telling us.
Yeah. Thank you, Nitinji.
Mhm.
I can take Ram Sampath ji's hand is raised. Yeah, Ramji, you're waiting for quite some time. Please go ahead.
Yes, Ramji. Radhe Radhe.
Krishna, I am Rama Sampath Kumar.
Sorry, yeah, Rama Sampath, sorry.
No worries. No, regarding this Vairagya, I think it mostly, the real Vairagya is always the result of Viveka. The Viveka of what is Nitya and Anitya, like, the Atma and Anatma, like.
Yes.
And it really purifies the mind, and only when you have that knowledge, as Mahatma Ji, Nitinji also said, that it is out of the knowledge of how the things is we should recognize the pleasures of the sense objects, that they are riddled with pain always, and then only then we can come out of this attraction to that, from the world centric to the God centric.
Yes, beautiful, very nice. Ramaji, where are you joining us from?
From North Carolina.
Okay, very nice to hear you. Hope you are liking the session. So, would love to hear more from you.
Yeah, very.
Thank you. Yes, Shri.
Thank you, Ramaji.
And I saw Shruti also, so you can prepare to raise your hand again. Yes, Shri Ramyaji, in the meantime.
Yes, Ramyaji, please go ahead.
Radhe, the thing that these are simultaneous, the detachment from world and attachment to God, I couldn't digest well. Like I was thinking, like usually what happens is there is a material reversal and then we attach to God. Or for some people, they start attaching their mind to God and slowly that material detachment will come. So it is like that chicken and egg, like which comes first, or like how can it be simultaneous? That was my question.
It is simultaneous. God doesn't wait even nanosecond. Okay, the moment you do that. So you got reversal from the world. Your mind is still attached to the world at that point, right? But if you're already attached to the world, to that extent, you would have felt that reversal, experienced that reversal to that less extent. That is how it works. Now, after the reversal, if your mind has gotten attached to God, then you will feel the same intensity going down with regards to that reversal. That is the principle of God. He doesn't wait even for a nanosecond. Right? We spoke about this concept earlier also. How much God love you? The answer is very simple. How much do you love him? He has to reciprocate exactly to the same extent, at the same moment, in the same emotion. Similarly, when we attach our mind to God, the detachment automatically happens. Now the question is, attach your mind to God. That attachment has to happen and detachment will automatically happen. And that is what our scriptures say. Maybe you can experiment with it, not wait for a reversal to happen, but
should we practice attaching the mind to God, or does it come naturally?
Of course, no, it will not come naturally. It is like riding against the wave. It is like an uphill cycle because your mind is material. It will go to its own buddies. Material world thing will be attracted towards material things only. It's a very simple logical thing, right? Because sajatiya means it is cut from the same cloth. Sajatiya sambandh our mind has with the world. It is material, world is material. It will have a natural affinity towards the world. You have to practice it to develop affinity towards God. It will not happen all by itself. You have to fight with your mind. You have to sit and bring it back, meditate and all that stuff. Slowly, you will start, getting the benefit of it, where God starts gracing you, and then you start reaping the benefit of it. But it will not happen naturally. If you keep waiting for it, that one day you will wake up and you will say, oh, my mind is attached to God today, it will not happen. You have to practice for it, work for it. This is another concept that people have in India, right? Jab Bhagwan ki marzi hogi, you put it back on God. It is called Ishwar Tushti. जैसे भगवान की मर्जी, भगवान की मर्जी होती, then he would have said Gita was not needed. He said, all right, Arjun, I'm going to desire and everything will happen. He's given you such a big lecture. That means you only have to put in the hard work, and accordingly you'll be graced and you will develop attachment, towards God and keep on progressing on this path. We have, the buck stops at us. Why we like to listen to kathas and go to so many satsangs and people? Because they think, okay, just by listening, we'll go to Swarg. So what will happen if that happens? First of all, that doesn't give us a ticket to Swarg, but then the reason why we like it is no accountability, nothing to do, just listen, enjoy, and everything will be done, right? People like that. When somebody shakes you out of your comfort zone and says you only have to work, nobody else has, and people don't like it. But the fact of the matter is that is what we have to do. All the hard work we have to do, but God is willing to grace us, and He will grace us. But then the first step we have to take.
Thank you, Nitinji. I saw Manish Ji's hand raised. Please go ahead, Manish Ji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
So just before our session, I was listening Essence of Hinduism, and there was a beautiful video from Swamiji that was played that actually talked about detachment from the world. And Swamiji in his video said it does occur simultaneously, but work on a little at a time. So 5% detached world.
The voice is breaking, Manish.
Then 10%, then 10%.
Yes.
And said, and then also so little at a time, we can detach and same time attach to God, so simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
So he said 5% first detach from the world, and then 5%, that 5% attached to God, and then 10%, and then 10%. So work your way up slowly, and then eventually, you'll be up to 100%. But you need he also said that Kripaliji Maharaj 100%.
Beautiful. Exactly. If you think logically about it, to Sri Ramaji's question, if you detach your mind to the world, now where will it go? There are only two areas. Can you keep it in pending that I have detached from world? And how? No, we cannot keep it in pending. It has to be somewhere. So you attach it to God, it has automatically gotten detached there. So this is how it works. Because if we had an option to keep our mind pending, or if there was a third place instead of God and in addition to God and world, then we could have said, okay, in the meantime, I have put it in this brokerage account and then I will withdraw it to God. No, there's no third place. You have detached it, then it has to be attached to God. Otherwise, you have detached it from one thing in the world and attached it to something else in the world. There's no other way. World and God, that's it. So it's a very simple, logical thing if you think about it. Yes.
So Hitalji has mentioned in the chat, when we renounce our afflictions such as anger, greed, and ego, we are getting inching closer to God.
Yeah, greed, anger, gad, give up gad and realize God. We spoke about that concept, right? Mm-hmm. Give up gad, get to God. But how do you do that is the question. What is the technology? If somebody asks, can we say, this is a garland I was wearing of greed, anger, and desire. Now I've taken off the garland. It's not as simple as that. It's a process. And that is the process which spirituality tells us. Over time, it will diminish when we attach our mind to God. We purify it, cleanse it, and that's how it will happen. It will not happen all by itself. No technology in the world can teach you that. No self-help book can tell you that. The only way to do that is by attaching your mind to God or Guru. That's it. No other formula for that. Yes, Ashutoshi, I think Shruti had also raised her hand.
Yeah, Shruti ji has mentioned that my question is already answered.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, Ashutoshi.
Ashutosh ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead. Thank you for waiting, Padma ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Actually, I remember one Doha Swamiji always used to take about this. जब मैं था तब हरि नहीं, अब हरि है मैं नाय।
प्रेम
प्रेम गली अति सांकरी, या में द्वय न समाय. Like that.
Very nice. It's a Kabir ji's doha, by the way. Yeah. Swamiji does that. Yeah, very true. Right. There is another saying in Hindi. Thank you so much, Ashutosh ji. You sing really well, by the way.
Yes, beautiful
I'm trying to.
rendition. Thank you.
Yeah. So, like God says, right? तू करता वही है जो तू चाहता है और होता वही है जो मैं चाहता हूँ. तू कर वही जो मैं चाहता हूँ, फिर होगा वही जो तू चाहता है. So this is how the principle goes. We just need to reverse the way we approach God, basically. See the material tricks that we have learned, right? Approaching people for our self-interest and all that stuff. We employ the same tricks with God as well because of our habit. God says, no, become simple, humble, simple, and then come to me, and you will get a lot of grace around it. And we definitely need God's grace on this path. Otherwise, our pride will swell, and then we will take 2 steps forward, 1 backward, 1 forward, 3 backward. That journey will continue like that. In any other path, there is no concept of grace, by the way. In Gyan Marg, in anything, there is no concept of grade. Aham Brahmasmi, you are only our God, right? So God says, all right, keep roaming around like a God and grace yourself then, and see how far you go in this journey. Yes, Padmaji.
Yes, Radhe Radhe Padma ji. Thank you for waiting. Please go
Radhe Radhe, about this material universals, just wanted to cast few comments. If it is left up to us, we would never consciously make a choice of detaching anything,
Yeah, very true.
So if it is left to us, we would never make the decision. So and I can vouch for my experience, right? You show bhakti, you show devotion. It might take many years, as long as you continuously putting that faith in. And it is, I feel like it's a combination of everything, the timing and the space and the situation, your karmas. I mean, like prarabdha karma that you have to fulfill. But at the same time, even though you bring that karma into this life, you have to constantly keep God in your heart while you're going through life. And one fine day, he will be happy with you, not very happy, but he will be happy with you to say, okay, I've seen enough effort. Here is what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to take away something from you, which is keeping you so attached in the material world. So I'm going to take that away so that you can actually attach to me. So he will do that favor to you. And even if you resist it, he will take it away. He will just take it away.
Very true. It's a very great and deep realization, Padmaji. This is exactly how even a material mother does. When a child is hung up in playing with toys and rejecting food and studies and everything, what does the mother do? She comes and snatches away the toy from the kid. Is it mother's anger? It is mother's grace. So that child does the things which are needed for the child. Same thing God also does from time to time. When we are so intoxicated with this world and created a bubble around ourselves, enjoying world, perfect life, hum aapke hain aap kaun, we are going to create and enjoy life forever. God gives you a wake-up call. That is not the purpose of your life. Okay, wake up. You deserve much better in life, and you need that awakening and realization. And that is the God's mercy actually to tell us that this is not where you should subject yourself to mediocrity for the rest of your life.
Yeah, so
Great realization.
very, because this is the only way that you have to accept this. You really have to truly accept this. Anything that he puts in picture, anything that he does, everything that he does, it is only to help you grow.
True. We spoke about this concept. We are motivated by self-interest because we haven't gotten the perfect bliss. Saints and God, they have gotten the perfect, they are bliss. So any action that they do is motivated out of kripa. No other motive whatsoever. Only thing they can do is kripa. Right? There is a beautiful bhajan from Maharaj Ji, Tera prem bhi kripa hai pyari, tera kop bhi kripa hai. So basically, God, everything is motivated by mercy and grace only. We may think, no, Bhagwan's Kripa happens only if everything is okay, good going on. No, actual God's grace is when He starts snatching the worldly things from you so that you develop the required detachment and actually propel yourself to the higher things which you are capable of, not getting stuck in the basic things of life, which are not going to take us any far anyways, right? It's just a matter of time before everybody is subjected to misery. Some experiences it early, some later, some in this life, some in other life. This will continue. So he says you need to rise above that, start building your resilience and start uplifting yourself so that you can, reach the highest goal. That is the whole idea. All right, maybe one or two more we can take. I know we are over time, so we don't want to hold back Pallaviji for too long. Shyamji, real quick, and then Ashaji after that.
Yeah, Shyamji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
A minute each, maybe, not more than that.
Yes, Shyamji, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. I just wanted to watch for this statement because, as I told you earlier also, Nitin Bhai, I was having all the material things in my life at a very early stage, I guess by 30 years of age. But for last 10 years, God has been very kind to me, and
So
He has taken away all those things.
So
All those things were. Sorry?
So you're 40 years now, huh? Is that what you're telling us?
50.
Okay, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, so God has been very kind to me, and in the last 10, 12 years, He has taken away all the material things which I was really proud of, and He has made me realize that these things won't just be with you, matter to you. So what matters to me is just the God's kripa, God's grace, and trust you me, the last 6-7 years have been tough in the sense of materially, but very good in terms of spiritually. I have grown. I'm there. I am detached from whatever things I get now. I don't just feel happy. It's just the way of life. The things come to me, go away. And as I told you earlier, also, my life personally also, I have lost everything. Maybe my parents, my job, my business. But these things don't deter me now. It's okay. That's the way He wants me. So that's the way I will be. I guess that's it. I hope it makes sense. Radhe Radhe.
No, it does. It's a great learning, very, very great deep realization, Shyamji, because it's not something that comes so naturally, and it's a great realization that you have had. In fact, it is said that there are only two ways. One is success, and the other one is learning. There's no failure in life as such.
Yeah, true.
Either you will taste success or you will have some learning. That's it. And you have learned it, right? And just imagine if you had led a life with all that you had and all that you had desired, and no spiritual spark or understanding of the deeper concepts or developing that surrender and love to God. Do you think that life would have been worth it? It would have been multiplication with zero. So
True that.
because of those reversals, now you have that, and see how much you are gaining. And this something that you're building is not just for this life. This is your perpetual asset, permanent asset. Krishna has confirmed that for us. He does the yoga. So this is the real gain. This is the real balance that we take along with us, and this is just what success is, I would say.
Yeah. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Beautiful. All right. 30 seconds each, maybe. Okay, Samji has and Ashaji has as
Yeah,
well.
Ashaji, if you can be real quick.
Real quick, then, yeah.
ये भागवत में या कहीं ये श्लोक है कि जिस भक्त पर मैं विशेष कृपा करना चाहता हूँ वो उसका मैं सर्वस्व हरण कर लेता हूँ. कृष्ण ने कहा है कि सर्वस्व मीन्स मटेरियलिस्ट थिंग, और ये जैसे एक अच्छे टीचर को बहुत ही सुपात्र स्टूडेंट पर इतना विश्वास होता है कि वो सबसे डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन उसे देता है क्योंकि उसे विश्वास होता है कि यही कर पाएगा, इसकी पात्रता डेवलप. So I think that the great grace that if we can take that blessings, the great blessings of, but वो दृष्टि पाना बहुत ही मुश्किल है, और जो भी पाते हैं उनका हम सब नमन करते हैं. और ये
बहुत अच्छे point, very nice. Yes, Bhagavatam says that. But how much of us have the capacity to say, okay, Bhagavan, aapka prasad tha when something goes bad in our life? If we can develop that, next time something bad happens in our life and we say, thank you, God, that means we are progressing. If we say, no, why did this happen to me? Only if this would have happened, then that means we are not there. So we need to practice that. Thank you, God, for, like Narsi Mehta, his entire family was burnt, and he said, all right, thank you, God. Maybe you wanted to take away my remaining attachments in this world. Now I can focus my entire time with you. So that is the mindset of saints, actually. And it is an aspirational goal for all of us. Samji, real quick, 30 seconds, and then we'll do our closing prayers for the day.
Yes, Samji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead if you can.
Yes, Nitinji, this is a silly question from yesterday's discussion. If we hurt someone in mind, it creates sanskars. What if we pray to God, God, please hurt that person through some other means and show it to me? Then how will that affect us?
Please hurt that person and show it to me, huh?
Yeah.
No, it's not a good sentiment. You are actually succumbing to your lower nature, right? So basically, you are bringing in hatred, resentment. When you have that, you are dirtying your antakaran. And when you dirty your antakaran and you want to welcome God in that, it's like when you want to welcome a guest in your home, you want to keep your home dirty or you want to keep it clean. So when you are having these kind of emotions, you're actually dirtying it and strengthening your negative sanskars, which you'll have to undo later on. You are creating more homework for yourself other than bad karma, of course. We can have more detailed discussion on it, Samji. Let's wrap it up now with our closing prayers and maybe a quick call we can have and we can discuss more. But it is not a good sentiment, basically. We need to rise above that. We should not wish bad for anybody, no matter who it is. When we can forgive them, let go of it, that is what God expects from us, right? That is the whole idea of evolving in spirituality. Okay, let's do our closing prayers. Who's going to recite it today? Do we have anybody, Pallaviji?
I will unmute Ashutosh ji and Payal ji, both have raised hand. Please go ahead. Oh, Swati ji also. All right. Please go ahead.
Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Sarve santu niramayah. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma kaschit dukkha bhagave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Radhe Radhe.
Thank you so much. Tomorrow we will look at this concept analytically and through shlokas, how Lord Krishna is gradually lifting Arjun in Bhagavad Gita around all the three concepts that we have spoken about. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Radhe Radhe. Have a wonderful day and a great rest of your evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Nitinji, for such another awesome session. Thank you, everyone, for joining our session. See you all tomorrow. Have a blessed day, blessed evening.
Thank you, everyone who turned on their cameras today. So, Radhe Radhe.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.